All right, welcome everybody to the Health Transformation webinar. This is your host, Cade Archibald, and I'm so excited to be hanging out with you guys this morning. A beautiful, beautiful Wednesday morning. And this is going to be our last webinar of the year. Crazy, 2019 is almost over. We got Christmas next week and then New Year's Day the week after that. So I figured you guys wanted to spend some time with your family or just loved ones and not be on our webinar on Christmas morning or on New Year's Day. So we're going to take those days off. We will be back January 8th will be the next one after this. So you'll see a couple email notifications saying, hey, these next two are canceled. But today, really excited to dive into today's topic. We're going to be going over some really cool things on how you can improve your nutrition and dispel some myths that we've seen, because what we've seen, many people, a lot of the past training and things that have been ingrained in our head are not actually fact when it comes to nutrition. So hopefully I'm hoping I can dispel a couple myths for you guys today and have some fun while we're at it. Reagan's not going to be able to join us, so I'm sorry you're going to have to deal with my mug today. But Reagan's he's at some training today, getting some additional insight and things to better serve you guys. So I'm going to be running the webinar today. We're going to be diving into the 4 myths of nutrition and how you can really look at some things to improve your health over the holidays. I'm also going to be we'll make some cool announcements on what the St. George and Salt Lake, and I think even the Albuquerque office. We got some really cool stuff that we're going to be doing on Christmas Eve day. From 9 to 2, we'll have the clinics open. It's open house. We got potluck. We got food. We're going to be dressed in our Christmas jammies and just having a really good time. So we'd encourage you guys, come show up, grab some food. If you bring a guest, you get a free vitamin injection, so you can get a B12 shots for some extra energy throughout the holidays. You can also get a glutathione shot that would just increase your detox pathways and systems. So if you do partake in some naughty foods, your body will be able to handle them just a little bit better. So yeah, we'd encourage you guys to come and hang out with us a little bit on Christmas Eve day. I know you got a lot of family stuff, probably doing some last minute shopping, but just swing by and say hi. We got some ridiculously good promotions on regenerative medicine as well as our wellness programs. So if you bring a guest, they would save a lot of money. So bring in a friend. They can get a free B12 or vitamin injection along with you. And we'll have some fun with it. So anyways, let's dive into today's topic. So we've had a lot of questions come up lately. Our health coaches, Jenny and Aaron and Michelle in St. George, they mentioned we've had some patients come in and say, hey, I want to do like low fat, and they're really focused on that. So myth number 1 I wanted to talk about is fat does not make you fat. You actually, one of the biggest things fat does is your brain is made up of a significant percentage of fat, like almost all of it. You need fat for brain function. It actually helps turn your brain on, gives you some good energy, helps keep you satiated. And this is probably the number 1 thing during the holidays to understand is if you can have some really good fats before your meal, it will help you want to eat less. And that is a good thing, especially if you're going to a Christmas party and you got snacks everywhere and big cheese balls and all the goodies that come along with Christmas. It's I never tell you, I'm never going to be one to say like, don't touch it at all. You'd be smart too if you did that. But if you're going to touch it, don't overindulge, because that's when you just pay for it the next day, that night. Make sure you got some Gluten Flam and Enzymix Pro, some good enzymes, or Zypan, to help with that digestion. But ultimately, just avoid that. So here's just some good understandings of roles of fat in the body. So it increases your cell walls, flexible and permeable. It helps create a better cell wall health, a better mental health. Your brain is 60% fat. Half of that is DHA. Increases, so your prostaglandins, it's a group of lipids, and it controls modulation of inflammation. Interesting fact, if you have really high cholesterol, that's actually due to, it's not fat intake or anything like that. A lot of people get that confused, but typically it's due to an inflammatory response in the body. Those the lipopolysaccharides, your LDL, they or low density lipoproteins, those actually are an anti-inflammatory. They act as an anti-inflammatory, so they do help reduce inflammation. But when they're really elevated, that typically means that you got a lot of inflammation in the body. And so really digging deeper is really important. So those aren't what are, so fat intake is not necessarily what's causing the problem. It's an internal inflammation when it comes to cholesterol. And cholesterol is not a bad thing to intake, especially good quality sources from eggs, from farm, from very very clean raised eggs. Improves your digestion. Butyric acid, that you'll find that in butter, grass-fed butter. Really high levels of butyric acid. If you get the traditionally corn-fed and some of the some other types of milks, it's a lot less, and that's a lot more toxic for you. But if you get butter from very strict grass-fed cows, that actually helps increase butyric acid, which butyric acid can help you break down food and proteins better in your digestive system. It also really spikes up it gets your metabolism a little bit more revved up, helps you improve energy and omegas. So some good fats, nuts, walnuts, great source of omegas, cashews. You have ghee, clarified butter, tallow, lamb and beef. Just specifically from a grass-fed source. Lamb is almost always going to be grass-fed source. I love some good lamb. And then if you get grass-fed beef, I just had the best. We worked with a local caterer here in St. George. She made this braised beef. We're going to actually have it at the St. George Christmas Eve day party. And this is a patient party. So this is for all you patients out there. Or even if you're not a current patient, you can still come in and say hi and enjoy some good foods and good laughs. But ultimately, it just super tasty, but really high in, you get good B vitamins out of it, good sources of fat as well. There's fish fats from salmon, high in omega-3s and fatty acids, olive oil, real olives, not necessarily like your canned black olives, but the really good big olives from Italy and other good quality sources, coconut oil, avocado oil, and avocados. So my favorite thing, so one of the things that you want to look at is what you're putting into your body in the morning. Is really going to create the fuel source for your day. So if you can get good amounts of fat in the morning, that'll actually curb your appetite throughout the day. It will also so along with that, you'll also see more sustained and consistent energy. So for you coffee drinkers, I think bulletproof coffee is a great way to add that mix into your coffee and avoid. You could put maybe some good quality proteins, some good fats in there. Avoid your starchy, really thick carbs. Because what'll happen is that'll convert into sugar, and then your body's running off sugar. So you want to run off fat. So if you can get some good, like an avocado. My favorite breakfast of all is either I like a plate of leafy greens, just mixed greens. And then I'll put maybe like an egg or an avocado and an egg, a really good sourced egg from organic and pasture raised, no hormones, etc. And then just a little bit of salt and then maybe even put some olive oil on top of it, especially those greens. You get some good fats. I just got avocados, fats, got the eggs, and then the leafy greens, really good boost of nutrients. But if you can have that in the morning, that will actually help curb your appetite really well. And then especially if you're doing like times restricted eating, or you're eating like some pretty not ideal meals for the holidays, if you can restrict your time window of eating, that's going to help your metabolism and help your digestion recover after a bad eating day, or let's just call it a cheat day. So what you do is, limit it to like 10 to 6. That's the hour windows that I'm going to eat. Or if you're going to be at a late night party or later party, then you can do like 12 to 8, something like that. But get creative and get strategic when it comes to where you're going for the holidays, or not necessarily where you're going, know where you're going to be, and get some good food beforehand, so that you're not like gorging on all the other snack foods that are there. Some other bad fats that you want to avoid: trans fats from different hydrogenated fats and oils, refined corn, soybean, peanut oils, margarine, really toxic stuff, grain-fed butter, and then some of your omega-6s can be a little bit, they're more inflammatory. Myth number 2 is all calories are not, I guess the myth is calories are created equal. So calories in and calories out, gets you where you want to be. That is, the quality of these calories is extremely important. They actually did a study. I should have had it pulled up. It was like in 2015, they did a study on the glycemic index, and crazy how, some people are affected by, different foods differently. And so you really have to be in tune with how you feel when you eat specific things. But what we see time and time again, if you're eating junk food or foods that have been processed really heavily, have a lot of artificial ingredients in them, or just a lot of ingredients in general, they are typically much more inflammatory. And those calories that you're taking in, even if it's a lower calorie count, it does a lot more harm on your body because it's causing inflammatory responses. So short term, you may start losing weight if you're cutting calories. Long term, if it's not good, like good quality sources of food that you're inputting into your body, you're going to create underlying inflammatory problems. Longer term, you'll actually have a harder time losing that weight. More weight might come on because of that inflammatory process that's going on in your body. So just, to give you an idea, is 150 calories of fruits and vegetables versus 150 calories of Oreos, not the same. And also you can get way more out of fruits and vegetables than you can out of an Oreo. Like one Oreo, you could probably eat like 5 apples. I don't know the exact math, but you're going to be a lot more full off those apples than you would be on those Oreos. And those Oreos, if you've seen the rat studies, it's actually just as or more addicting than cocaine, interestingly enough. So I know you guys really were interested in that. But no, the fact is they did the study on mice. I think it was on rats, and they got them. They were actually addicted to cocaine, or heavy stimulant drug. And then they introduced them to Oreos, and had them eating those regularly. And then they had the choice between the two. And every time they were choosing Oreos, never went for the cocaine. So interesting fact there. And they were doing some evaluation with the brain as well to see how it impacted. Very similar impact on the brain. So those really high processed sugary foods, avoid those as much as possible. And then create some really good detox stuff for when you do accident. I'm assuming it's always accidental that you indulge. No, and hopefully you guys don't look at us as trying to be too restrictive. We just want you to be smart and understand how your body works. If we have the right education, it's easier to say no to things that we know are going to do harm to our body and make us feel like, not ideal. But even then, if we do decide to take it, to indulge, have some strategies behind it. And that's where, we're going to be doing those glutathione shots on Christmas Eve day. I definitely think that's something that could really be beneficial for you for the holidays. We'll also, getting some coconut charcoal, some activated charcoal to take with some negative foods. It'll actually help magnetize heavy metals and other toxins in the body, and then you can release them better. Also, just getting some good methylated B vitamins can help open up your detox pathways, especially if you have a MTHFR mutation, which most of us do if we have a lot of the symptoms that we talk about on this webinar. And then we just this page goes on to talk a little bit about getting nutrient dense calories, because if you can get calories that have lots of good different vitamins, proteins, micronutrients as opposed to the macronutrients, much better as far as creating better health. All right, number 3 is protein is more than animals. So when we're saying eat some good clean proteins, this could come from grass-fed beef, could come from lamb. Those are typically, if you're eating a good clean protein, those are the least inflammatory. I know a lot of the myth is like chicken and turkey is the best because it's white meat. That's actually not exactly true. Especially it all depends on what that animal's eaten and how they've been raised, because chickens, they're raised in pretty toxic environments. They're in like these little teeny areas, and they're like living in their own feces. And so an animal like that compared to a cow or a chicken that's been free range, been fed like good clean food as opposed to a bunch of processed garbage food, that's going to be a higher quality protein that's less inflammatory. But also you can look at, not even looking at animal proteins, look at some different plant proteins. Soy is your most toxic plant protein. Avoid soy. It's very estrogenic. The reason being, it's just been heavily genetically modified. It also is naturally estrogenic. Funny story about soy. This was about, let's see, it's been over 10 years. It was when I first got married. My wife and we would have this edamame every night, and we thought it was like, oh, this is such a good healthy snack. Lo and behold, she stopped having her cycle, like her menstrual cycle just stopped. And we did a pregnancy test. She wasn't pregnant. We're racking our brain trying to figure out what's going on here. And I reached out to Reagan. At the time, I was not working with East West Health, and I asked him, hey, do you know any reason why Sierra wouldn't be having her menstrual cycle? And he asked me, well, has she been eating a lot of soy lately? And I was like, that not really. Like we'll have edamame at night. Is that soy? Like I was clueless. And he's like, oh yeah, that can be really estrogenic. Stop that and see what happens. Literally like 2 weeks after she stopped having that, resumed her cycle just like normal. How to get it out of the system, but it's an endocrine disruptor. So her estrogen was not able to get into cells, wasn't signaling the menstrual cycle. So very fascinating how that could happen just like that. And so luckily we figured that out and diagnosed it, as opposed to just keeping on that same thing. And who would have known where we would have what road we would have gone down and trying to figure that mess out if we wouldn't have had Reagan. So some good proteins, mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms. We have, let me show you this. If you go to thesmartmedicine.com, you can get Stem Boost, which helps with increasing your immune system, stem cell proliferation. But even bigger, it's got a good amount of protein in there from some different mushroom blends. There is some pea protein. Some people do get a little inflammatory on pea protein, so you got to be careful there. And then rice protein, that's another good option. You have, so there's some good options out there for protein. And so hopefully that's helpful for you. And then lastly, so the fourth myth that we want to cover, gluten-free is not just a fad. And I think understanding what gluten-free, really what the purpose is behind it. And if we even dive in a little bit deeper, I'm just going to put, so understanding why gluten is so negative. The protein itself is really hard for our bodies to digest typically, especially if it's been genetically modified. But it's like, you think of like a little grain that just your body can't quite break it down. And then it just wreaks havoc on your digestive tract as it's going through, it's rolling around, and just think of a big spiky ball, just like ripping up your intestines. And if you have celiac disease, it's like fatal. Like you're just, it's excruciatingly painful. But even for someone that's just got a little gluten sensitivity, that's really the easiest and simplest way to imagine it. Is it just, creates a lot of GI inflammation because it's like this little spiky ball going through your digestive system because our body cannot break down that enzyme. So one hack is get some gluten flam and some good digestive enzymes. If you're going to have food that you're not sure it's quite gluten-free, I'm not telling you this is your freebie to eat glutenful, but get a gluten flam. It's a digestive enzyme specific for breaking down gluten better. You can pick that up at any of our offices. So the other thing that's really important to understand of why gluten's so toxic, especially here in the U.S., is it's been commercialized for so long, and all the fields that it grows in that wheat, they've been at one point or another they've been sprayed with Roundup or glyphosate, as you can see here, and that is it is a toxic chemical that is just really creating more and more health problems, and it's linked up with autoimmunity, digestive issues, different thyroid problems, all these different things. So you got to find things that do things that you can avoid glyphosate. And that's why organic and non-GMO is so important. But even if you find those in the US, typically, it takes hundreds of years to get that stuff out of the soil, because even the soil gets immersed with that Roundup and those chemicals. And so being aware of that and really finding good sources. If you go to Europe, typically people that have a sensitivity to gluten handle it much better. The other thing is having sourdough, but ultimately gluten-free can be really helpful. to help reduce inflammatory foods. So don't it's not just necessarily a fad, but it is something that you want to be it's something you want to be aware of and pay attention to, and avoid toxic gluten, because it will cause some serious digestive problems, long-term inflammation, all these different things. And so I really appreciate you guys tuning in today. Love you so much. Had a question come in here. Yeah, and so we find new research. This is pretty consistent with what we've taught consistently, Susan. But yeah, reach out if you feel like this is a little new information. We'll be publishing this on our and we'll be recording this. It'll be published on our YouTube page. If you guys have missed any of the past webinars, go to youtube.com/East West Health. You can find all our past health transformation webinar recordings. So all of those are there. Last thing, I want to just invite you guys again, come and see us Christmas Eve day. I know you probably got a lot going on with family. We're going to be in the office helping with, we're scheduling and treating patients. We also have a patient appreciation party. We're going to have food there, some potluck. We got crazy discounts, and then you can get a free vitamin injection. Yes, there is something in Salt Lake. So we have it in Salt Lake. Downtown Salt Lake will be there, full speed, as well as in St. George. We have something going on. And I believe even in, if you're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, our newest location, the team there will be there as well. We love you guys so much, and just appreciate you. And really, we want you to have amazing holidays. We want you to feel great, be able to have energy to spend it with your family, not have brain fog and digestive problems and just be in pain. We want you to just enjoy the holidays as much as possible. And so, really having good health is where you can start with that. And so hopefully over the last year, you've made some improvements, made some tweaks. Maybe you're not quite there. Maybe you're feeling amazing, and just keep that growing. No matter where you're at, let's look at 2020. It's a brand new year, brand new decade, and look at how we can really take our health to the next level. So I challenge you, reach out to us. We'd love to help you out in any way possible. And you can come in, we'll design a program that's specific to helping you accomplish your health goals, whether that's weight loss, whether that's improving energy, improving muscle mass. We have so many different things that we've implemented over the last year that's just really exciting. So we love you guys so much. Have an amazing rest of your year, amazing Christmas, and we will see you January 8th. Same time, same place. Love you all. Have a wonderful one. Bye-bye.